function for this faculty development program sponsored by Atal AICTE on the smart city, which is a very pertinent topic nowadays since government of India has rolled out in a big scale. So this is, we in DSATM, we feel privileged to have Sri Shankar Sir, Executive Director, Bengaluru Metro Railway Corporation Limited, as chief guest. I would like to request Mr. Rajat GR to hand over the bouquet and welcome him cordially. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
For being the chief guest for today's occasion. Of DSI management and principal staff and on my own behalf, I extend a very warm and cordial welcome to Sri Shankar sir. And now it is also, I take the pleasure to welcome today's guest of honor, Sri K. Jayaraj IAS, former Additional Chief Secretary, Government of Karnataka, India, to attend this faculty development program. I extend a hearty welcome to Sri K. Jayaraj sir. Also, I have the pleasure to welcome today's guest of honor, Sir Dr. H.P. Kincha, former Vice Chancellor, VTU Belgaum, India, to this function. Sir, I extend a very warm and cordial welcome to you, sir. Thank you very much, sir, for attending today's invitation. Thank you very much, sir. It's also my privilege to welcome the guest of honor, Dr. K.N.B. Mukti, sir, Vice Chancellor, Dayananda Sagar University, Bengaluru. I take this opportunity to welcome him. I extend a warm and cordial welcome to you, sir. Next, it's our pleasure to welcome a person who is known for his leadership in the profession. It's none other than our founder principal of DSATM, Dr. Lakshmikant sir, to this function. We welcome you cordially, sir. Thank you, sir. On behalf of everyone, all the coordinators, staff members, and everybody, finally, I extend a hearty welcome to all the colleagues, the vice principal, dean madam, and all the head of the departments, and all the participants who are participating all over the India in this faculty development program. Thanks a lot. We welcome you very heartily and cordially. Thank you.
I would also welcome our beloved HRD, Dr. Rupam Madhuri, sir, to this event. Thank you, sir, for your welcome address.
Thank you, madam.
A lighted lamp does not speak. It introduces itself, its light. Achievers never express themselves. Express this great achievement of organizing FTP on smart cities. We will be lighting the lamp virtually. I would like to request Dr. K. Handu to visit Review Department to share insights about it.
So, dignitaries of today's function, heads of the department, my dear colleagues, my dear participants, a very good morning to all of you. The economy of any country depends on cities, and GDP is going to increase with the increase in urbanization. The purpose of smart cities is to improve economic growth. Population in cities is growing. One of the most important uses of smart water system.
He's speaking that his mic is off. This one, not that one.
One of the challenges in smart city project, planning and executing a complex
We are getting that. I think it's really difficult.
and these are developed on the basis of model. Governments across all regions are using e-governance, self-help.
Control.
Okay, sorry.
Sundar sir, unmute ಮಾಡಿ.
Okay. Now you can hear, no? Hello, can you hear me? Check.
You have to unmute. Sir, cannot hear.
Check.
Okay.
Huh? Okay, now? Should I start again?
Speaker is, now it is.
Okay. So again. Sorry for the interruption.
কি হয়েছে তোমার?
Dignitaries of the today's function,
আমি যাদবপুরে থাকি,
HODs.
কেন বলছেন? হ্যাঁ, দমদম কি নাম আপনার?
Yeah. Once again, sorry for the interruption. So, dignitaries of this function, heads of the departments, my dear colleagues and my dear participants, a very good morning to all of you. The economy of any country depends on cities, and GDP is going to increase with the increase in urbanization. The purpose of smart cities is to improve economic growth and quality of life. Growing, one of the city's most important pieces of critical infrastructure is its water system. Smart water system, a key building block of smart city of the future. We are having Dr. Mohan Kumar, former professor and chairman, Civil Engineering Department, Indian Institute of Science, Bengaluru, will be addressing on smart water system, enabling sustainable water supply. One of the challenges in smart city projects is the planning and executing a comprehensive waste management program connecting to various sectors. As cities are developed on the basis of smart city model, governments across e-governance to strengthen democracy, citizen participation, and public welfare. We are having Mr. Arindom Roy, a business consultant, Smart Cities Bengaluru, will be addressing on smart city solutions, that is solid waste management and e-governance. Information and communication technology in the smart city is used to enhance quality, performance, and interactivity of urban services. So this is to reduce cost and resource consumption and to improve contact between citizens and city stakeholders. We are having Dr. Jonathan Richentel, CEO, California, USA, to address smart information and communication technologies. Also, we have the inefficient management of parking spots. Smart parking management is one of the key issues in the smart cities. So we are having Dr. Prashant Mishra, scientist, corporate research and innovation, TCS Limited, Bengaluru, will be addressing on management of on-street parking systems. If the management process is not right, then a scarcity of energy may occur in the near future in the cities. The global population is moving towards green energy initiatives, and the smart meters and grids can help the modern day population to reduce the waste of the valuable resources. So testing and usage of smart meters plays an important role in the smart cities. So we are having PV Harinath Babu, Joint Director and Head of the Department, Metering and Utility Automation Division, Central Power Research Institute, Ministry of Power, Bengaluru, will be addressing type testing of smart meters as per IS 16444. Also, we are having with us Sri Balasubramaniam C, former DGM BHEL. So he will be addressing on challenges in communication technology for smart meters employed in smart cities. Also, in order to address energy management, we are having Dr. Subba Reddy, Principal Research Scientist, Electrical Engineering Department, Indian Institute of Science, Bengaluru. He will be addressing on smart energy management for microgrid. Photonics already has a major impact on smart cities in terms of smart lighting, sensing, and communication technologies. So we are having Dr. T. Srinivas, Electrical and Communication Engineering Department, Indian Institute of Science, Bengaluru, will be talking on photonics technology for smart cities. Also, we have Shashi Om Katiyar, former AGM FGPS, NTPC Faridabad. He will be talking on smart street lighting. Taking polluting ICE vehicles off the road and replacing them with zero emission vehicles, that is electric vehicles, is the most immediate environmental benefit for smart cities. The reduction in emission from transportation will help to create a healthier city with a stronger economy. So we are having it with us, Ms. Ruchi Agarwal, Urban Regional Planner, Independent Consultant, Toronto, Ontario, Canada. She will be addressing on urban mobility and public transport. Also, myself, Dr. K. Shanmukha Sundar, will be addressing on electric vehicles and charging infrastructure for smart cities. Design of smart cities shall ensure reliable and energy efficient power to the city. In order to achieve energy efficient power supply with high quality and reliability, real-time centralized control and monitoring of electric network is important. Real-time control and monitoring is achieved by means of integrated and intelligent power distribution automation system. We are having Mr. Shivakumar, Joint Director, Metering and Utility Automation Division, Central Power Research Institute, Ministry of Power, Bengaluru, will be addressing on SCADA and distribution automation. And finally, as a part of mandatory session, as per ATAL guidelines, so keep India fit. So we are having a activity that is non-technical activity to keep India fit event. So we are having stress management and meditation. So this is from Ms. Surya Prabha, MTech IIT Kanpur. She is also international faculty, Art of Living, Bengaluru. She'll be taking a session on stress management and meditation. So these are the brief introduction of the speakers and the content which we are going to address. Hope you are going to enjoy these technical sessions in these 5 days. So thank you. Thank you, one and all.
Now I would like to request our Dr. B.R. Lakshmikanta sir to address the gathering.
Good morning, one and all. Sri Shankar sir, Dr. Balasubramanian Murthy sir, Jairaj sir, Professor Kincha sir, distinguished participants, teaching fraternity, and others who are logged in. Good morning again. It's my privilege to give an introductory talk on smart cities, the necessity of it, and so on. This 5-day FTP program on smart cities is being organized by the Department of Electrical Engineering, Dayananda Sagar Academy of Technology and Management. The moment we say Dayananda Sagar Academy of Technology and Management, it is customary to introduce our institution, the founders of this institution, and the people, the torchbearers behind this organization. Now, coming to the founder of this great institution, Sri R. Dayananda Sagar, a distinguished educationist, enabled barrister, and a contributor, straight to the cause of professional education in our state, had a great vision, that is, education for all sections of society. With this great vision, Sri Dayananda Sagar started with Mahatma Gandhi Vidyapita Trust. And for every successful man, there is a lady behind the successful man, and that lady is none other than Dr. Chandrama Sagar, the wife of our founder, Sri R. Dayananda Sagar, a medical doctor by profession, a triple FRCS from London, Edinburgh, and Glasgow. She was a member of panel of doctors for the President of India. Isn't it our privilege to see the great founders, the couple behind this great organization? Mahatma Gandhi Vidyapita Trust was established in the year 1962. Of course, as I told you, Sri R. Dayananda Sagar was a person. He was a founder president of Mahatma Gandhi Vidyapita Trust. In addition to his vision of education for all sections of society, he strongly believes in education completes a man and knowledge empowers. See, that has given way to the growth of this seat of learning. Now, this couple's vision has been carried out by our torch bearers. The long-term vision of the founder has been achieved, and greater heights of developments have been accomplished by our dynamic chairman and vice chairman. Chairman Dr. Hemachandra Sagar, he is the chairman of Dayananda Sagar Institution and is also the chancellor of Dayananda Sagar University. Our vice chairman, Dr. Premachandra Sagar, he is the vice chairman of Dayananda Sagar University, also CEO of Dayananda Sagar Institutions, and the pro-chancellor of Dayananda Sagar Universities. Now, coming to the different institutions started by Sri Dayananda Sagar, and the legacy has been continued by our chairman and vice chairman. Starting from the year 1962, we had Dayananda Sagar Schools. The latest edition is Dayananda Sagar University in the year 2015. And the feather to the cap is Dr. Chandrama Sagar Institute of Medical Education and Research, that is CD CIMER, in the year 2020. Presently, more than 20,000 students are being educated in different institutions. Now, coming to our institution, Dayananda Sagar Academy of Technology and Management, this is the front view of our institution. This institution was started 9 years ago. We are into the 10th year now. We started this institution in the year 2011-12. And I'm fortunate enough to be the founder principal of this institution. The campus is about 10 acres of land. The institution is affiliated to Visvesvaraya Technological University, Belgaum. It is approved by All India Council for Technical Education and also the Council of Architecture and recognized by the University Grant Commission. We have 7 programs, 7 courses, namely the electrical engineering, electronics engineering, computer science, information science, artificial intelligence and machine learning, mechanical and civil. These are the 7 courses under the program engineering. And we have one more program, that is B architecture, and the third program is the master's MBA. And we take the pride in saying that we are the youngest institution in the entire country to get all its engineering programs accredited. That is a brief introduction of our institution. Now, I would like to give a small insight to the smart city, the necessity of it, and so on. Now, the preamble for it. Okay, why do we need smart city? Now, it is said that India is all set to become the most populous country in the world by 2030, making it the home to the biggest and most underpenetrated market for global manufacturers and service providers. Unlike its preceding generations, this growing population is also shifting to top-tier cities of the city, giving rise to new mega cities estimated to generate 80% of economic growth, with potential to apply modern technologies and infrastructure, promoting better use of scarce resources. Now, it's also said that, as per the estimates, about 25 to 30 people migrate every minute to major Indian cities from rural areas in search of better livelihood and better lifestyles. As per the previous census, 31% of the Indian population were in cities, which contributed to about 63% of GDP. So it is said that it is estimated that urban areas are expected to house about 40% of India's population and contribute 75% of India's GDP by 2030. Of course, when looking at the growing trend, this requires a comprehensive development of physical, institutional, social, and economical infrastructure. All of them are important in improving the quality of life and attracting people and investment, thus setting in motion a virtuous cycle of growth and development. To accommodate this massive urbanization, India needs to find smarter ways to manage complexities, reduce expenses, increase efficiency, and improve the quality of life. Hence, development of smart cities is a step in that direction. This is a logo of the Smart Cities Mission, started by the Government of India, Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. Now, the objective of this smart cities are, the objective is to promote sustainable and inclusive cities that provide core infrastructure and give a decent quality of life to citizens, a clean and sustainable environment, and application of smart solutions. In fact, in one of the speech, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's vision, Digital India, has set an ambitious plan to build 100 smart cities across the country. And Modi, in his speech, had quoted, cities in the past were built on river banks, which is also true, isn't it? They are now built along highways, that's also true. But in future, they will be built based on the availability of optical fiber networks and the next generation infrastructure. Okay. Now, this 100 Smart Cities Mission. 100 Smart Cities Mission was launched by the Government of India on 25th June 2015. A total of 98,000 crore was approved by the Indian Cabinet for the development of 100 smart cities, and in addition to it, another 500 other cities for its rejuvenation. Rupees 48,000 crore rupees is kept aside for smart cities, and 50,000 crore for the rejuvenation of 500 other cities, that is also termed as Atal Mission for Rejuvenation and Urban Transformation. Of course, now who is that who is going to monitor this? The Smart City Mission will be operated as a centrally sponsored scheme, that is CSS, and the central government proposed to give financial support to the mission with an equal contribution amount on matching basis by the respective state governments. Now, there has been a deadline, and this deadline could be anywhere between 2019 and 2023. India's Smart City Plan is a part of larger agenda of creating industrial corridors. Industrial corridor means it is between the big metropolitan cities in India. These include the Delhi-Mumbai Industrial Corridor, that's one, Chennai-Bangalore Industrial Corridor number 2, and between Bangalore and Mumbai, it's also called as the Economic Corridor. It is hoped that many industries and commercial centers will be recreated as smart cities along these corridors. The National Smart City Mission is a urban renewal and retrofitting program by the Government of India with the mission to develop smart cities across the country, developing an area within the cities in the country as a model areas based on the area development plan, which is expected to have a rub-off effect on other parts of the city and nearby cities and towns, making citizen-friendly and sustainable. Now, how are we going to select these smart cities? So these are the smart cities: redevelopment project, retrofitting project, green project, citywide smart solutions, area-based and all. Now, there has to be a methodology to select 100 cities, isn't it? The Ministry of Urban Development program use a computation method based on method as a means for selecting cities for funding based on the area-based development strategy. Cities competed at the state level. This is as a first step. Cities competed at the state level with other cities within the state. Then the state level winner competed with national level smart city challenge. Cities obtaining the highest marks in the particular round were chosen to be the part of mission. The state governments were asked to nominate potential cities based on the state level competition, with overall cities across India is limited to 100. Now, out of 100, it's a pride to the Karnataka that in Karnataka we have 7 cities which are being recognized as smart cities, namely Bengaluru, Mangaluru, Belagavi, Shivamogga, Hubballi, Dharwad is a twin city, Tumakuru and Davanagere. Now, when you say there are 100 cities, means not 100 cities were identified at time. There were different rounds. In first round, 20 cities were being identified. In the second round, 13 cities were identified. That is 20 plus 13 made 33. In the third round, 27 cities, that is totaling to 60. In the fourth round, 30 cities, and finally 10 cities, totaling to about 100 cities. Out of 100 cities, 98 cities are really the active work is being taken out, is being carried out, and the other 2 cities that has been kept in abeyance due to various reasons. Now, when you say the smart city means there are certain strategies for this smart cities mission, namely the PAN City initiative, in which at least one smart solution is applied city-wise, develop areas step by step, retrofitting, redevelopment, maintaining the greenery, that is green field, adequate water supply, assured electricity supply, sanitation, including solid waste management, efficient urban mobility and public transport, affordable housing, especially for the poor, robust IT connectivity and digitalization, good governance, especially e-governance and citizen participation, sustainable environment, safety and security citizens, particularly women, children, and the elderly, and health and education. Now, there are so many, but it's better to group them. And in fact, in some of the organizations, there are it's grouped into about 4 groups or 5 groups. But widely, if you acclaim them widely, is being grouped into 8 groups, and these are the critical pillars of smart city program. Starting from number 1 is smart governance, smart energy, smart environment, smart transportation, smart IT communications, smart buildings, smart healthcare, and finally the smart education. A brief insight to each of these. Smart governance. Huge investments are required. Huge investment means it is the investment of about 1.2 trillion US dollars is required over the next 20 years across areas such as transportation, energy, and public security to build smart cities in India. 1.2 billion US dollars is allocated for smart cities, and FDI norms are being relaxed. 83 million US dollars has been allocated for Digital India initiative. Public private participation model to be used to upgrade infrastructure in 500 urban areas, that is rejuvenation. Smart city project to create 10 to 15% rise in employment. Ministry of Urban Development has planned to develop smart cities in each of the India's 29 states. So that is regarding the smart governance. Now coming to the smart energy. As a smart energy space, the motto behind this smart city mission is electrification to all households, establish smart grids, then energy storage, electrification to all households, and their energy storage, and then implementation of a couple of smart grids with the investment of about 10 million US dollars. And also the addition of about almost close to 1,000 megawatt of power capacity in the 12th 5-year plan. And then most important thing is India needs to add at least about 250 to 400 gigawatts of new power generation capacity by 2030, wherein there will be large migration towards the first top tier cities. And India to install 130 million smart meters by 2021. Now, this is quite important. Smart environment. 3 crucial dimensions ensure sustainable development. That is renewable energy, water and waste management, and sanitation. Renewable energy means, as of now, we have been almost about 70% of the power generation is from the material what we get from the Earth's crust, which gives greenhouse gases. Now, this greenhouse gases is really hazardous. The greenhouse gases form a layer between the ozone, just beneath the ozone layer, thereby causing the increase in the overall global temperature, which has an adverse effect. Therefore, one of the motto of the smart city is to improve or increase the renewable energy and stop reducing the other source of resources for the electricity generation. That is, Ministry of New and Renewable Energy has plans to add capacity of about 30,000 megawatts in the near future. Water and wastewater management. Now, wastewater management, we have been seeing that the ground is being polluted to a very large extent. Therefore, that has to be taken care of. That is, Indian Ministry of Water Resources initiative in the water sector. And the sanitation. Sanitation means most of our villages, they still go open for their nature call. Therefore, that is being taken care of in the Swachh Bharat mission, that is rural water supply and sanitation, which is quite important. Now, smart transportation, public transportation system to support the ever-growing urban population. Now, green transport has to be encouraged. The government of India has approved 4.13 billion US dollars to spur electric and hybrid vehicle production by setting an ambitious target of about 6 million vehicles by 2020. And then electric vehicle charging stations in all urban areas and along all state and national highways by 2027. And then one more mode of transportation, railways. Under railways, metro rail projects in the coming years. Of course, we do have metro rail projects, and we thought it is really apt to invite a person who is into the metro rail, and that is none other than Sri Shankar, who is Executive Director of Metro BMRCL. And then in addition to that, high-speed rail, the proposed 534-kilometer Mumbai-Ahmedabad high-speed rail project is in progress. And then there's also plans for monorail, that India's first monorail project in Mumbai. Now, after the transportation, we look into the smart IT and communication. Smart IT and communication, there is information and communication technology. Cloud computing will evolve into 4.5 billion US dollars market shortly. Then broadband connections to 175 million users, that is in progress. Security and surveillance, that is also in progress. Under the flagship of Safe City project, the Urban Ministry proposes 333 million US dollars to make 7 big cities, namely the Delhi, Mumbai, Kolkata, Chennai, Ahmedabad, Bangalore, and Hyderabad, to focus on technology advancement rather than manpower disaster management. And very frequently, we've been hearing that, especially during cyclone, the coastal areas, Tamil Nadu and Puducherry, are badly hit. Therefore, the government of India and the World Bank has signed 236 million US dollar agreement for reducing disaster risk in coastal villages of Tamil Nadu and Puducherry. Now, the next one is smart buildings. India is expected to emerge as the world's third largest construction market by 2020 by adding 11.5 million homes every year. The intelligent building management system market is around 621 million US dollars and is expected to reach 1,891 million US dollars shortly. The smart buildings will save up to 30% of water usage, 40% of energy usage, and reduction of building maintenance cost by 10 to 30%, isn't it? There's really smart building which are required. Now, the health care, smart health hospitals. Health budget has been increased considerably in the financial 2014-15. 5.26 billion US dollars were being kept aside. The special focus of improving affordable health care for all. Then one more agenda is to establish a couple of new AIMS, All India Institute of Medical Sciences, and more government medical colleges to the country, accessible and affordable, effective healthcare system for 130 plus crore citizens of India, insurance for one and all, FDI limit in the insurance sector has to be looked into, medical devices, and then medical devices market reach about 11 billion US dollars by around 2020, that is said, and then 100% FDI allowed in the medical devices sector. And coming to the last of the pillar, that is smart education. Enough budget has been allocated to set up new IITs and IIMs. Then accessible, 78.5 million US dollars has been set up for the new IITs and new IIMs. The Ministry of Human Resource Development plans to have about 1,000 private universities for providing trained manpower to meet services and industry requirement. 100% FDI is allowed in the education sector, and India's online education, of course, one thing, blessing in disguise of the pandemic 19 was we are into the online education, and most of the people in India, we are accustomed to online education, and we need a further improvement in it. Now, these are the plans. Now, the reality of the smart cities, whatever we have looked into, are these components. That is, since the launch of the mission in the year 2015, 5,151 projects were identified by the cities worth more than 2 lakh crore in the various stages. As you said, about 98,000 crore was being earmarked by the central government and an equal amount by the respective states, of which 534 projects worth 10,116 crore rupees has already been completed. 536 kilometers of metro rail lines are now operational in 10 cities. Of course, this was the data what I had taken about a week ago, and probably Sri Shankar may throw more light on the total kilometers of metro lines in operation. And then IoT and cyber attacks, that has to be looked into it. That is, and then smart cities, IoT, and cyber attacks. The future of technology is almost impossible to predict, isn't it? Yes, there are blueprints and roadmaps of which they are in store for future to see. However, the relevance of some continues to remain dynamic. Our organizations will increasingly become proactive instead of reactive when assessing risks. So we have to look into the IoT and cyber attacks. The impact of smart cities on consumers, this is quite important. The solutions that are deployed in smart cities equip the city to better service to the citizens. Hence, a smart city is nothing if computers' impact cannot be measured. The entire concept of smart cities revolves around enhancing citizens' standard of living. The creation of smart cities will also create a demand for people in sectors such as ICT, data analytics, and e-governance. Smart technology will also impact other areas of a consumer's life. For example, a product such as smart city lights can greatly enhance the safety for people across the city, isn't it? The installation of smart video cameras in crime-prone areas may lead to an assessment and reduction of crime rates in their neighborhoods. And finally, how technology advancement affects the security and surveillance. The security industry is in the midst of paradigm shift where technology is playing a key role in this industry development. Just like any other activity, there are pros and cons to technology and advancement. While technological advancement expands the surface area for cyber attacks, it also equips us with ways to take proactive and reactive measures in case of a tragedy occurring. User experience has become a top priority for the development of security solutions. For example, many organizations are adopting an access control technology wherein mobile phones instead of access cards can now be used for access. Hence, the two major things that are being kept in the mind are: first, user experience should be enhanced, and second, every product should strive to improve the current security scenario in the country. The advancement in technology is aiding this through the removal of bottlenecks that were present earlier but can now be eliminated easily. So, with the brief introduction of smart cities, I wish to end my talk. Thanks for giving me this opportunity. Over to the host team.
Thank you, sir, for giving us the present scenario on the smart cities. And it was very informative too. And it gave us the real scenario, what is there existing. And looking forward to learn what all we have seen now. So that will be achieved in the FTP. Thank you, sir.
Welcome, madam. Yeah.
All of the top personalities, whomever I have seen, are lifelong learners, looking for new skills, insights, and ideas. So it's our honor to have such great personalities present with us today. So we have a splendid presence of a great personality, Sri Shankar AS, Executive Director, BMRCL, Bangalore, gracing the occasion as chief guest. It is a real privilege for me to introduce Sri A.S. Shankar. He is presently working in BMRCL as Executive Director, Operations and Maintenance since 2017, and he has around 12 years of experience in Metro. Presently, all activities connected with the Bangalore Metro operations and maintenance and station management are being looked by him. He has done his engineering degree in electronics from from Visvesvaraya College of Engineering in 1982. He joined BMRCL in the year 2008 as Chief Engineer, Signaling and Telecommunication. And he is also associated with BMRCL from the project conceptualization stage to the planning, execution, and commissioning stages of the Namma Metro. Prior to the above position, he has around 23 years in several managerial positions from 1985 to 2008 on Western, Southern, and Southwestern Railways of Indian Railways, and worked in the area pertaining to projects implementation such as conversion from single line sections to double lines in Karnataka, double line to quadrupling work Borivali, Virar in Mumbai area, and meter gauge to board gauge conversion of main line railway sections involving commissioning of signaling arrangements at several stations. To his credit, he has done various projects, that's Bangalore Metro Phase 1, 42.30 kilometers, Bangalore Hubli gauge conversion, Bangalore Vangapet doubling, automatic signaling works in Western Railway. So we are fortunate to have you, sir. Now I would request today's chief guest to give away the keynote address.
Yeah. Hello, is my voice audible to one and all? I am speaking from our office in Bayapanahalli, Bangalore Metro. I hope everyone is able to hear me.
Yes, it's audible, sir.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Dear Dr. H.P. Kincha, former Vice Chancellor, VTU, Belgaum, Shri K. Jairaj, IAS and former ACS, Government of Karnataka, Dr. K.N.B. Murthy, Vice Chancellor, Dayanand Sagar Academy, Dr. B.R. Lakshmikanta, Principal of the Dayanand Sagar Academy, academicians, students and other participants in this FDP program. A very good morning to all of you. I am honored to be addressing this elite group on a topic that is so relevant to our country, smart cities. It has been a very nice program, topic selected by the Dayanand Academy for considering the current day requirements. Well, all of us know the meaning of a city which is nothing but an area having large number of people living fairly close to each other. The city dwellers, or each one of us for that matter, perform some work or the other, which involves community interactions always. We recall here the Bhagavad Gita shloka. I will recite the shloka. Nahi kaschit kshanamapi jatu tishtatya karma krite karyate hyavashah karma sarva prakriti jair gunaihi. The meaning of this shloka is, none can ever remain inactive, even for a moment. For everyone is driven to action
Keep it the box.
by modes of nature born qualities.
Third semester, no? Oh, seventh. Oh, come later. Seventh, no?
You're not audible, sir, now.
Is it audible now?
Yeah, right now, sir. It's okay. Shankar, sir, it's okay.
It is audible, sir.
Sir, not audible, sir. No, again, Shankar, sir. Not audible again.
This movement of persons must be possible without much hassle so as to guarantee maximum productivity, and the city must facilitate this. So there is a need for the cities to become smart. Now, what do we mean by smart cities? There is no universally accepted definition of a smart city. It means different things to different people. For example, in Saudi Arabia, a smart city is coming up, which has a definition that the people should be able to move from one end of the city to the other end in just about 15 minutes. 15 minutes, that is the definition they have kept. And according to that, they will be creating all the infrastructure. The conceptualization of smart city, therefore, varies from city to city and country to country, depending on the level of development, willingness to change and reform, resources and aspirations of the city residents. A smart city would have a different connotation in India than, say, Europe. Some cities must be oriented towards IT industry, some others heavy industry, arts, automobiles, etc. Even in India, there is no one way of. How do we consider a person to be smart? Smartness is determined by several factors like one's personality, the way one speaks, knowledge one possesses, physical fitness, etc. On the same analogy, a city will be smart provided it has various attributes such as cleanliness and hygiene, accessibility, having internal good roads and pavements, good drainage systems, transport, communication and electricity, waste management systems, and provides good environment for dwelling and development of all sections of people. Smart cities are the cities which are efficient in all spheres and centers of high productivity. Increase in productivity of a city increases the way people can do their business in the city. Therefore, there is a need to convert the city into a smart city. And this is possible having a very good infrastructure for carrying out day-to-day businesses by cutting out time spent on sundry activities such as waiting time, travel time, etc. Coming to the smart city, smart city is a product that can be created by, first of all, we have to lay down the requirements. We have to conceptualize a smart city. We have to lay down all the requirements for a smart city. Then comes the implementation phase, then sustenance and innovation, then vigilant monitoring. Conceptualization plays a very important role in the establishment of smart cities. City conveniences and requirements have to be analyzed in detail and will have to be taken into consideration from the planning stage itself. There should be consultative meetings with the industries, citizens, and the requirements must be taking into account all the essentials. I would like to narrate a small story in this connection. See, there was a adjacent to a river bank. Very, very peaceful place. There was no theft. People could pursue their interest and their needs were limited. Then gradually, their aspirations increased. Aspirations of the people increased, and they felt that a small road in the village would be an added advantage for making the village smarter. There is only one road, village with one road. This would facilitate them to socialize and enhance their freedom. Therefore, the road was constructed. Then further, the aspirations increased and the people wanted to undertake farming on the other side of the river. So how do they go to the other side of the river? They have to construct a bridge. So the bridge was constructed and people were very happy that a beautiful bridge was constructed across the river. And the bridge gave them access to the other side of the river and villages started forming on the other side. So this small town attracted several more people. That is what Dr. Lakshmikanta in his previous speech told urbanization. It is analogous to that. This small village town attracted several more people due to the opportunity it created in farming and construction. Then what happened? The people started moving to and fro of the village, and the density of the town went up. One road that was laid out became congested, and some of the people thought that the river could be used for fishing also, and many people started fishing in the river on both sides of the banks. So what happened? Basically a farming industry, and then the fishing also started in the town. So this fishing activity started a fish market in the town, and the fish market was not at all thought about initially, and as the market spread filth in and around in the town, the air became polluted and became a perennial problem for the entire community. So the fish market, the dead fish in the fish market used to be thrown into the river, and water pollution started. So then the insects, then the harmful effects of the insects started, and several diseases also sprang up. So the people who were living there, they started cursing the life in the village. We wanted to construct the road, we wanted to do farming, we wanted to be a smart town, but it has become very bad to live with. And then even the hospitals were not there and to take care of their health. And the smart city, because the smart city, they had not taken all the design aspects into consideration. The future requirement was not considered, and then the city lost its smartness. Next comes, after the city is conceptualized, comes the implementation. Well, implementing the requirements for building a smart city poses a lot of challenges at ground level. Several hurdles come in the way of converting cities into smart cities. During the implementation process, essential services need to be maintained and transport requirements should not get affected. And the implementation methods should not cause pollution. And then these call for challenges and adopt special methods. A badly followed method can deprive the citizens of water and electricity that are available. The implementation may also take several days, affecting the mobility in and around. Therefore, a smart city implementation must adopt sequencing and well thought over methods of construction. Then comes the sustenance smartness over a period of time. This requires upgrading to the challenges and changes in technology. See, technology is always changing, and to see that the advanced technology is available to the citizens, the smart city governance should innovate itself. The city must have good security, transport and communication systems, and on account of urbanization, the cities get choked over a period of time. The residences which were situated close to workplaces no longer are livable due to noise and air pollution. So as the city expands, you see the food items which were growing next to your door get shifted to farther places. See, earlier you were growing food next to your doors, but that is no longer possible because city is expanding. Then logistic problems arise for transport of food. Industries which were located outside the city get merged into the city. So all these activities disturb the ecosystem and create inefficiencies. Ultimately, the city loses its smartness. So sustenance of smart city is an important aspect that needs to be considered. Next comes vigilant monitoring. A smart city requires to be monitored constantly so that desired amenities are maintained throughout the 24/7/365 days. In Indian conditions, enforcement of rules and regulations will be possible if the activities are monitored and the city is kept under vigil. and strict penalties for non-compliances are to be in place. Well, all methods of conceptualization, then the implementation and vigilant monitoring, and then sustenance takes me to the example of the metro, which is systems are smarter, technology. From children to elderly people, everyone is fascinated by trains. The sight of the movement of train, one behind the other, is an attraction even today. The ease with which journey in a metro railway is possible, and the disciplined movement of coaches one behind the other makes the metro a smart system, and we can understand a smart city concept better by understanding how the metro railways have been built. Though it is highly to a scaled down version, we can understand the smart city, how to build a smart city by looking at the metros. To have a successful metro system, we conceptualize and take a lot of implementation measures and also sustenance into consideration. At the time of conceptualization, the metro is designed with interface among all systems. See, metro system has got the civil infrastructure, the track, and then the viaduct and the stations, and then they need to have a liaison or the interface with the systems. That is a signaling system or the traction system or the rolling stock itself. So before you implement a product, you have to design it well. So there is an interface which is going on for about 12 months in metro railways. Before we take up a project, there will be a lot of discussion with the civil, electrical, mechanical, and communication experts, and all interdepartmental issues are resolved. The end product is visualized on computers. Ergonomic considerations for maintenance of systems are given maximum attention. Very high reliability and availability figures are achieved by adopting strict national and international standards. Some features which are used in NAMA availability and which make it smart are, first of all, automation. So for a system to be smart, I feel that automation is the top of the list. The train, if you see a metro train, it is driven automatically today. There is no manual intervention for driving the train. So similarly, a smart city governance should be smart enough so that if there are any deviations then to the desired effects, then it should be monitored. The feedback should come immediately. The train routing is done from a remote central location. SCADA system, that is supervisory control and data access systems, provide power switching between circuits. We have redundant power systems that require to switch. Suppose the power is coming from different grids, and if there is a power supply failure in one of the grids, then switching is done automatically by the SCADA system, and the metro services are continuously maintained without any interruption. Similarly, the fare collection system, if you look at fare collection system, it is robust system, and any communication breakdown with the central computer will not affect the local fare systems at the stations. Then surveillance systems are there in metro, and video analytic functions. That is, if anybody falls on a track, the information is immediately visualized, immediately able to be detected, and corrective measures are taken. So these video analytic functions are all available, which enhance the smartness in the metro system. Regarding availability and reliability, I would like to tell you that the power supply systems are highly reliable and available in metro. We draw power from 2 or 3 grids, and then even the network cables are laid out with redundancy, traction transformers, auxiliary transformers, they are all duplicated. And therefore, if there is any failure of any of the system, there won't be any interruption for train movement. Coming to the telecommunication side, telecom systems have multiple routing and path diversity. Wireless telecom and hardware intercom supplement each other. We have a wireless system. Train wireless communication is by Tetra, and it provides communication to central control. The signaling system have two redundant systems working in tandem in the trains, and there are different modes. That is the automatic train operation mode, automatic train protection mode, etc., which are provided for the driver to manage the failure scenario. Manual override feature to take control of automatic operation exists. Then, what about implementation? We are using tunnel boring machines. Tunnel boring machines are the machines that bore underground, and it will not disturb any activity at the surface. Suppose a tunnel boring machine is going underground, the people above it will not even feel that a tunnel is going to be dug under the road or under the building. The fuel used in the metro system is also electric, and it is non-pollutant. Ticketing system does not cause littering. High safety standards are followed during construction, and rolling stock also does not cause any noise pollution. Then, suppose the payment methods in the banking, the fintech, if there is an advancement in fintech, then these advancements are brought into the metro. For example, earlier we had brought in the smart cards, cash acceptance, then moved to this credit card, debit card, now the UPI payments, and automatic seamless recharge of smart cards is possible. So all advancements are considered, and then the technology is upgraded as and when the fintech changes take place. Next is what about the metro accessibility for different sections of people? We have the elderly, we have the ladies, we have the children, differently abled, handicapped people who are using the metro. And for each one of them, it should be smart. It should be able to provide a good transport system, and for which we have various amenities such as lift, escalators. Then we have the surface of the railway, metro coach is at the same level as the platform. So all this, and there is no gap between the train and the platform. All these things are carefully drafted, designed, and then implemented. Then comes the energy efficiency. We have very energy efficient systems in place. Whenever a train breaks, the energy gets transferred for running the other trains in the vicinity. So utilization in adjacent train movements, and low energy consumption devices such as LEDs are deployed in stations to minimize electricity consumption. So these are some of the features which are common for a smart city requirements also. And a smart city, likewise, I thought that it can be compared to the metro in terms of providing the desired services continuously for all the 365 days in the week. Besides the above issues, we should not forget the climate change that is taking place. Sudden extreme climates can destroy the smartness of a city. If there is excessive rainfall or floods or high temperatures, then such occurrences will cause problems for elite people this extreme climate will only cause problems for the poor people, and they will be driven to make compromises. Ultimately, there will be clash and social unrest. So because of the social unrest, the smartness of the city is lost, and there will be a lot of problems. Therefore, climate change is a big factor, and uncertainties in weather will be a factor affecting lives of several citizens and the smartness of the city. So there is a need for all stakeholders at this stage, the policymakers, all citizens, engineers, and others to come together in a common platform for a common cause. The policymakers and administrators should bring laws to reduce carbon emissions, plastic usage. The citizens should cooperate for obeying laws, follow waste management practices, teachers to nurture the children of inculcating habits that sustain smart cities, and engineers and doctors. They have special role, and other professionals have to work for achieving common objectives. For smart cities to be smart, we should innovate. Innovation is very important, and produce engineering solutions that can be deployed during disasters and quickly bring in normalcy. So several disasters are bound to happen because of the extremities of temperature and floods, rainfall, etc. And there should be engineering solutions for which we request the cooperation of all the engineers. Therefore, on the occasion of the commencement of FDP on smart cities, I appeal to all the faculty and students to innovate management of disasters and take the analogy of metro. With these few words, and I was told Mr. Lakshmikant wanted to elucidate on the metro projects. In Bangalore at present, we are operating for 50 kilometers of metro railway. Recently, that is this week, we added another 6 kilometers. With that 50 kilometers, we are operational today. And we have got huge plans. This is a radial network now. We will be converting this radial network into ring topology or mesh topology. Few more radial lines will be coming. That is RV Road to Bommasandra and Nagavara to this IIM, Gottigere Nagavara line. Then the ring topology will be done from Silpur to Krishnarajapuram, Hebbal, then airport. So these are the plans, and works are going on at brisk speed. And we hope to complete all the sections stage by stage, and that will add more interchange stations for the convenience of citizens in Bangalore, and they'll be able to commute to their desired places very quickly. And even to the airport, there will be several options. The suburban transport or the metro transport will be available in the days to come. So we are expediting all the works in these sections. As you are aware, Government of India is monitoring speedy, fast progress of the metro projects. Delhi has more than are there 389 kilometers network is working on DMC. In Mumbai, apart from the Indian Railways suburban section, metro railway is also running now. Kolkata has a metro railway, Lucknow has a metro railway, Jaipur, Cochin, Chennai, Hyderabad. So the metro railway is expanding at a fast rate in India. Earlier, to see a metro railway, one had to travel to Singapore or to Europe or to England. Now, metro railway, in many of the industries are coming to India because there is a demand for metro railways, and metro railway factories are getting set up in India. And then many of the well-established firms are producing metro coaches from India, and these are being exported to other countries. It is very fascinating and good science of development. And we hope to continue to keep the pace of development in a fast rate in India as far as metro is concerned, and provide good facilities for the public. So taking the analogy of a metro, we have to build smart cities, good transport system, And on this occasion, I am extremely happy to participate in this function. And I thank the management of Dayanand Sagar Academy for giving me an opportunity to participate in the inaugural FDP program. I wish the program a grand success. I thank one and all for a patient hearing today morning. So thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir, for your valuable insight about the present metro scenario. It was a very wonderful talk.
Thank you.
I would request our principal, sir, to announce an important note.
Okay. Good morning to one and all here. We did have two other guests of honor, Sri K. Jairaj and Dr. Balasubramanian Murthy, Vice Chancellor of Dayanand Sagar. In fact, Dr. Murthy had 11 o'clock the academic council meet of Dayanand Sagar going to start. We just sent a message that our Chancellor already arrived at the venue. It's possible to address the gathering. Probably, I think we are putting more burden to take over the slot of Balasubramanian Murthy. That's it, sir. Over to you, Madam Manasa.
Sir, we also have an exceptional and esteemed personality present with us, Dr. H.P. Kincha, former Vice Chancellor, VTU Belgaum, India. So, it is my privilege to introduce Dr. H.P. Kincha, sir. He has done his Bachelor's of Engineering in Electrical from Bangalore University, and he has secured second rank in 1966. And he has done his Master of Electrical Engineering in Power System, IASC, first rank, 1968. Doctor of Philosophy in Electrical Engineering from Indian Institute of Science at 1973. To his credit, he has 8 awards, such as IEEE Millennium Award, Lifetime Achievement Award by the System Society, Outstanding Power Engineering Award by IEEE Power Engineering Society, Vishweshraya Award by the Institution of Engineers, Outstanding Service Award by the IEEE PS, Gold Medal Award by Central Board of Irrigation and Power Government of India, Certificate of Merit by Central Board of Irrigation and Power Government of India, Outstanding Young Person Award by Bangalore Garden JCs. He is also associated with various professional affiliations, and to his current assignments, he is associated with various organizations. Few amongst them are Member National Mission of E-Mobility, Power Electronics, Automation Systems Technologies, then Advisor to the Office of Director, IASC Bangalore, Chairman Standing Committee, National Mission and Technology in Education, Government of India, etc. So we are very fortunate to welcome you once. I would request today's guest of honor, Dr. H.P. to address the participants.
Good morning to each one of you. Respected Sri Shankar, respected Sri Jairaj and Professor Murthy sir in absentia, Professor Lakshmikant, and I heard the name of quite a large number of distinguished speakers who will be speaking in this 5-day FDP, along with the names of my colleagues from IISc, Professor Mohan Kumar, Professor Subbareddy, Professor T.S. Srinivas, and other distinguished speakers who will be speaking in this FDP. And all other participants, I see a number of 146 on my computer who have joined in this FDP from different parts of the country. Good morning to each one of you. I think you have heard enough about smart cities and very well spoken by Sri Lakshmikanta sir and Dr. Shankar sir. Leaves very little for me to speak, on this occasion of the FDP, but let me try to speak for about 10 minutes, with your indulgence. And let me see what I can, the perspective that I can give to the smart cities. Maybe the talk is, my degree was in 1966 when all of us were dumb. We were not smart at that point of time. And then probably now the word smart gets added on to everything that we talk about, whether it is smart cities, smart buildings, smart factories, smart dots, smart military, smart houses, smart appliances. It's anything that you talk is smart now, is all smart now. So we are all old dumb people, and probably I will give a dumb view of this smartness, Now, Dr. Shankar sir talked about the definition of a city, and he told that the Saudi Arabian city, 15 minutes duration as the transmission of one person to one place to another place in the city is the limit that they have kept as the definition of the city in that thing. I read the definition of a city some time back, which said that a city is a conglomeration of people and facilities which can be traversed in 1 hour. That was another definition that was given long time back, 1 hour. And this definition of 1 hour that comes into, I think then it gives a dimension of the city which can be very big, because now 1 hour in mobility means quite a bit with the high-speed trains and the high-speed networks and everything that we have for the communication possibilities. And then high-speed trains take to almost like 300 miles in 1 hour. And if I see that as the city size, then that will be the size of the city of the future in the urbanization. I was very recently reading about the planning of a city of 250 million people in China. 250 million people is 25 crore people city, and which is getting into this definition of 1 hour in this, and everything that goes along with this city. But these are two concepts. I think we should keep these concepts of the bigness and the smallness very clearly in our mind, because the European cities work towards the smallness and the attributes associated with the smallness, and the Indian, Chinese, and the US systems talk about these big cities, big conglomerates, and the attributes associated with these big cities, The other point, smartness or the smart cities is not a definition for me, is not a definition at all, because there is no end to the smartness. And I think for me, the smartness, the smart grids as an electrical engineer, is only a process rather than a definition. And therefore, the smartness will not end anytime, It is only a process by which I am trying to smooth out the chaos of the city at the present point of time, and do something which is more orderly and which is more manageable, And I do anything which is manageable with data gathering. And I collect the data of anything and everything that is available in the city. And then I create the smartness with maneuvering or trying to play with this data, in different ways. And I play with this data. And I do many things which I call as smartness ultimately, Ultimately, we have to deal with cities as such and urban planning as such, whether they are small cities, big conglomerates, or very big cities. We have to deal with the city's problems, and we have to deal with the thorny problems of today. And those are in terms of the climate change, the transportation, the energy efficiencies, the efficiencies of everything in the city systems, education, public safety, public health, citizen engagements, privacy, economic inequalities, climate change, cybersecurity, and everything are to be dealt with us as a part of the urban planning. We added the word smart in this. Because we got the component of the technology inbuilt into these systems. And we try to think of new solutions for tackling the same old thorny problems. And maybe we presume that we will try to solve these problems in a much more better way than we were doing earlier in the dumb areas of ours, in the dumb times of ours. And this technology from 2007 onwards is in an accelerating pace and has invaded every part of the technology sphere and every part of the life of human beings. And therefore, technology in the form of whether we call hardware, we call the software systems, we call the agile systems, we call the cloud, we call the IoT systems, we call the 5G systems, we call the internet connectivities, we call the sensors, we call the data resources, we call the data mining systems, we call the data merging, we call the data analysis systems, we call the mobile systems, we call the social platform systems, we call the 3D printing systems, we call the smart systems, we call anything and everything that we are talking in terms of technology is progressing at such a fast pace, and these are getting interconnected at a much bigger place, in a higher plan. And therefore, this gives us the ease to introduce smartness in our system. That ease has come, and therefore we talk about the smartness of these systems. But probably if I take the definitions of the way to envision an urban city, this envisionment, as Shankar said very rightly said, is very critical and is also will differ from place to place and will differ from an area to area and concept to concept of that particular city planners. Big systems, small systems, but everybody talks about 2 or 3 things which is very definite and common. And that is, one is the citizen-centric development of the city, the safety and reliable city systems, sustainable cities development, and ease of living for the people who live in the city. And we talk about various components of these characteristics to be met by the city planners, And if we take basically in a city, we are talking about the responsibilities of the city planners and the city administrators. The city administrators are towards the utilities, towards the mobility, towards the buildings, towards the environment, towards the governance, towards the economy, and towards the society. And each one of these subcomponents can be sub-classified into different aspects. For example, if I take the utility systems, then I talk about the electricity systems, I talk about smart. I talk about the water system, I talk about smart. Professor Mohan Kumar will speak about it. Subba Reddy will speak about the smart cities and one component of the smart meters and the microgrids and things like that. We talk about the sewage systems, we talk about the lighting systems, we talk about the waste management systems, we talk about the Wi-Fi systems, we talk about the mobility system or the utility systems for movement of goods. So many things that we talk about, and everything, there are issues and there are problems and there are solutions in different ways. If we talk about mobility, we talk about the mobility of people, we talk about the mobility of goods, we talk about mobility of systems, we talk about the different, what we call as the area and the traffic control systems, the area traffic control systems. We talk about the bus, the BRTS systems. We talk about the bus priority lane systems. We talk about the parking systems. We talk about the street bumps and the related things about it. We talk about the travel time between one place to another place. We talk about the environmental effects of these travel times. And I should tell you that in the country now, a lot of projects have been done, and I happen to be lucky to be the chairman of the National Mission on Intelligent Transportation Systems for the country. And lots of projects are going on for the hybrid traffic systems of this country. I also happen to be a part of the National Mission on Power Electronics, which is a big part of the different components of the smartness in the utility and the mobility space, including the metro and the Indian railway systems, and work on different technology aspects of this. If we talk about the governance systems, we talk about the land use systems, we talk about the waste management, we talk about the disaster management, we talk about the structural health monitoring systems, we talk about the risk management systems, we talk about in the governance, we talk about the citizen services, we talk about in the governance the procurement systems, we talk about the resource sharing systems, we talk about the transparency, we talk about breaking of the silo systems by the technology and the smartness, we talk about the information across and try to tangential decisions on the different things. And these are all facilitated by the technology, and we move towards the smartness. In the economy systems, we talk about the open innovation systems, and we talk about the openness of data, the openness of the data in the economy sectors, and everything that gets associated with the economy and help in the economy system is the responsibility of the people who provide us the administration services. In the society space, we talk about the health system, we talk about the education systems, we talk about the safety systems, we talk about the privacy systems, we talk about the regeneration systems, we talk about the culture angle, we talk about the safety systems, we talk about the corruption systems, and we talk about many such things to make them smart and make the administrator provide us the societal component of the smartness to us. In each one of these areas, there are problems and there are issues and there are different ways of solutions that are available to us and available to each one of you who want to work in the area of smart cities and smart as such, smart as such. The thing that I wanted to talk two more things about that is, and that two things that we are now trying to work. I am getting involved into this in addition to what I was involved in the smart cities, in the smart grids, the smart power electronic system components, the smart mobility, and some of the utility components of this. What we are trying to see today now is that once we get the data about everything in the system, everything in the city, can we create a common platform for all these data? If I create a common platform of all these data, I think then I will get new insights and I'll get new thoughts processes for trying to play with this big platform that I will have, very huge platform that I have of all the common data. And this ultimately what we are now trying to work on is on a project of what we call as the digital twin of a city. A digital twin of a city, which will be able to help us in trying to simulate the city's atmosphere and try to see the effect on a city's acoustics by putting a wall in some part of the city, and how does it affect the traffic system and the lighting system or the disaster management system. Can I create a digital twin of a city and try to see the working of this digital twin and try to design my city in the future? This is one activity which we are trying to work on now. And the second activity that we are trying to work out now is the underground planning of the city. I think we take a lot of care for the overhead or the overground planning of the city, but I think we want to play equal emphasis on the underground planning of the city. And now with Shankar sir sitting, metro trying to go underground, roads going to go underground, and the various utilities which are underground, and we don't know what will come in the future. I think the underground planning of the city also becomes pretty important. And the third aspect that we are trying to work on is the predictive component of a city, with the artificial intelligence coming into it and the possibility of prediction of systems, and use these prediction methodologies for better maintenance and better utilization of the resources is another big area of work which many of you can probably join together. And I don't know what we will see in the future. Probably what we will see in the future is beyond technology. I think that's what comes to my mind. I think technology will continue to accelerate, will continue to provide us the means for improving our ease of living and our way of living and our way of governance of the systems. But I think probably time is for us to think of beyond technology. And what will be beyond technology? And what will be beyond technology? For me, beyond technology will be people and leadership. And everything that we do has to be people-centric. Can I make their life and can I bring a joy and a smile on their faces of the people? I think that's all the ultimate objective of a city planning for me. It is planning of the lake, planning of a park, a public park garden, or a footpath, or a green area, or planning of a Wi-Fi network, or planning of spaces for people to meet with each other, planning of museums in the city, planning of art spaces in the city, or planning of everything that I do in the city. Ultimately, it is to get the smile on the faces of the people. And I think we'll have to concentrate the smart cities towards this joyness of city planning. I wish that the mayor of the city of Bangalore will have a control room in his office. Where he will be controlling all these aspects, including the art aspect, or the research projects aspects, or the water system, or the electric system, or the lighting systems, or the road system, or the traffic systems, and everything, and ultimately creates what is called as the development city indicators, and develop an indicator for the city's living complex or the living standards. Some such standards have been developed for the city of Amsterdam, and I think the Bangalore city should develop such a development index, or a development indicator, or a smartness indicator, or a living space indicator for the city. And the mayor of the Bangalore should every day put these signs on the different parts of the city for us to say that my city, Bangalore, is today livable by this much index. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Namaste.
Namaste, sir.
Thank you, sir. That was a very good roadmap in putting a technology and turning the city into smart city. That was very innovative talk, sir. And every engineer should think in this way, and each person should go and follow the path so that we will have the cities turned into smart cities, sir. Thank you so much.
I wanted to add one more small thing, with your permission, Lakshmikant sir.
Yes, sir. Sure, sir.
I wanted to inform the people who are participating in this that we have created a Smart Cities India Foundation in Bangalore. I'm one of the directors of the Smart City India Foundation NGO that has been created. And there are certain objectives that we have to fulfill by the Smart City India Foundation, including the creative voices and connectivities that we want to create for the smart city building and the effect of smart city systems on a city's development process. Just wanted to give this information to each one. People are free to become members of the Smart City India Foundation.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you so much, sir. We'll get information, and since the FDP is going on for the next 5 days, we'll pass it on to all the participants and to the other interested teaching fraternity too. We'd like to be a part of it, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Mansa, please take over.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Every program should have an end. I would like to request Professor Kiran to propose vote of thanks.
Respected Chief Guest, Shankar sir,
Executive Director, BMRCL, Bangalore. Dr. H.P. Kincha, sir, former Vice Chancellor, VTU, Belgaum. And Jairaj, sir, former Additional Chief Secretary, Government of Karnataka, India. And KNB Murthy, sir, Vice Chancellor, DSU, in their absentia. And our beloved Principal, Dr. B.R. Lakshmikanta, all HODs, and Coordinator, Dr. K. Shanmugha, my dear colleagues and participants. It's my honor and privilege to propose a vote of thanks on this occasion. I, on behalf of EEE Department, DSATM, and on my own behalf, extend a very hearty vote of thanks. First of all, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to Shankar sir, Executive Director, BMRCL, Bangalore, for gracing this occasion and sparing his valuable time with us. So we are very fortunate enough to have you online, sir. I request Rajat sir. I request Rajat sir to give a memento as a token of gratitude. Thank you very much, sir. So I would like to thank or show my gratitude to Jairaj and Jairaj and Murthy sir. Because of their personal meetings, they couldn't attend this meeting, but showed their blessings. And I'd like to express my sincere gratitude to Dr. H.P. Kincha sir for his presence and his motivational words, and his words were very clear in which direction to work towards make a city better. I'd like to thank my management for providing great support and all the facilities. I'd like to thank our principal for giving an opportunity to place on record and for perfect support and guidance he has extended for this event. And even his words were very motivational in making our city smarter. Then I'd like to thank our HOD, Dean Academics, Vice Principal, all my colleagues for their constant support. Last but not the least, I would like to express my thanks to all the participants who registered and made this event successful. Thank you, one and all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. There is a small announcement from the coordinator, Dr. K. Shanmugha, sir.
So the first session will start at 11:45 from Dr. Mohan Kumar. He'll be speaking on smart water system from Indian Institute of Science. So was also a former professor and chairman of Civil Engineering Department. So please join us at least 5 minutes before the schedule, 11:45. So and also request all the participants to switch off your video and mute yourself during the presentation. Thank you one and all. So we'll meet at 11:40. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you so much. And thank you, Lakshmikant sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you. They are all the students.